Hussbus bus stop.
JP Hussey here, owner of the Hussey Team Mortgage Advisors, with this week's
Hussbus bus stop.
Hope everyone's great. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit my opinions as a mortgage guy, not a real estate agent, because I'm not. All right, about the NAR changes that officially went into effect on August 17th. Okay, so first thing I want to say is, you and the public may not know much about this, and I wouldn't be crazy concerned about any of it. It's only really there to really protect you, okay? And sometimes real estate agents and mortgage people, we think the world revolves around us and everyone knows what's going on, right? So if you're one of those, like me, remember that people don't, okay? The consumer doesn't. They don't follow things like us. But either way, all right, I do want to give my opinion on this to our clients and consumers and to any real estate agents on here. And if I'm wrong, please let me know, because I'm educating myself on this, okay? Because these are some changes, all right? So basically, in the past, how it usually worked, there was always ways to negotiate and things like that on the real estate side. How it usually worked was, if you were buying a home, the seller, out of their proceeds of what they get for selling the house, would pay both the listing agent, okay, and the buyer's agent. So when we spoke to a lot of buyers in the past, we would say, because people don't know, right, is how do I pay the real estate agent as a buyer? And I would usually always say, you don't pay the buyer's agent, all right, the commission, the seller does, out of the proceeds, like I just explained, okay? And this was always listed on the MLS Bright, whatever you want to call it, which is the big network for real estate agents, all right, where they can look things up. It's not given to the public, all right? You have to have a membership with the MLS, the whole thing, okay? And it would list in there, if there was a house for sale, it would list how much they would pay the buyer's agent, okay? I'm not going to get into details of why these changes occurred, okay, but I'm going to say what they are. So the big change was, now on that MLS where they would list the commission to the buyer's agent, they are not allowed to do that anymore, okay? And really, you can't advertise how much, okay? You can still do it, but you can't advertise it or really put it anywhere. Now, everyone's trying to figure this all out, okay? And you'll see over here, I have some can do's and can't do's, okay, for real estate agents, all right? So as a buyer, you can take a look at that, all right? But basically, you can't list really anywhere or advertise what you're willing to pay that buyer's agent for bringing a buyer and closing on that deal, okay? But it can still occur. It can still occur verbally. You might have to get a little bit more creative, okay? And what I think why this came about is, I think it was during COVID. There was a bunch of sellers that really, there was dual agency, it's called. We can get into that, if it's ethical or not. I know there's always a gray area there. But I guess they felt like they got ripped off, whatever it may be. All right, so I think that's what it is. You can Google it, NAR settlement, and kind of read what it is, okay? But anyway, they cannot list how much they will pay the buyer's agent now, all right? That's the big thing, all right? So you, look, if we do some can-dos, can still negotiate. Negotiation was always a thing. It always has been a thing. We just kind of fell into this line where that seller's agent would just typically always pay the buyer's agent. So that was just typical, but this could always be done, negotiated. Could always be done, all right? But that was a typical thing, all right? And maybe that's why this came about, maybe because people fell into it's typical and they didn't know they had options, and maybe they weren't disclosed that. Who knows? But that could be part of it, okay? So this is all up to date. I got some stuff from Tri-County Suburban Realtors. There's what's called showing time, where you schedule a time to go see a property. You can't put it there. There's going to be some creative ways that people are going to say, yes, we can pay you. Because here's the thing. You want to pay a buyer's agent as a seller, in my opinion, because you're going to get more eyes. Because now a buyer's agent doesn't have to show a home where they're not getting paid. And honestly, that's ethical. Why would I do anything and spend my time and my money if I'm not getting paid. So they can not tell a buyer about a property maybe if it's not there. So I think that's the whole thing. You have to negotiate. You got to do your job. You got to do your due diligence and really see what's there and really work it a little bit more. Okay, so that's a big thing. All right. The other big thing, and this has always been around, but now you must do it, is you have to get what's called a buyer agency contract signed as a buyer's agent to a buyer. So if you want to show someone a house, whether it's virtual or live, signing up for showing time to go get into the property, you have to sign, all right, an agreement saying we're going to use you. And what has to be on here, what has to be listed on here, is the commission, okay, that has to be paid to that buyer's agent. Whether it's from the buyer, that's the big thing. That's what the news is going to say. Buyers are getting screwed because now they have to pay that 2.5%, 3% to the buyer's agent as part of their closing costs, which it adds a big amount of closing costs onto there for especially like a first-time home buyer. That could really affect them, all right? Saying that's going to happen, but these buyer agency contracts, before you go see a house, whether it's for one house, one showing, or you can sign a contract that's all negotiable for 6 months, a year, okay? And basically what that says is if you sign a contract for a year, buyer agency contract, and then you don't like your agent, your buyer agent, and you go use someone else and buy a house, that buyer agent, because of that contract, if it's within 1 year, right, according to this one contract, they have to get paid some way, shape, or form, all right? So it does protect buyer's agents, no doubt, that's what it's there for, but now it can really protect the buyer even more to really kind of date your agent. They say, like, I'm going to go see one house, this is a brand new agent, I'm going to sign a one showing contract saying, I'll go look at one house with you, right? If I like it, I'm using you, right? But after that, the contract's void, okay? So you can sign, and then you have to sign another one if you do like them. So they kind of say it's like dating your agent a little bit, getting to know them, which I think that's kind of cool. But there's always been these buyer agencies, all right? Now you have to get one signed, and the commission has to be on there, okay? Now, one thing where this kind of is similar to the mortgage world is you can't bait and switch people, all right? So like in our world is, if we show a fee and we just put $1,000, whether it's our fee or not, but it comes in at $5,000, that mortgage company, depending on the tolerance rules, has to eat the difference because they were baiting and switching, okay? So that's kind of good. If you can't get a buyer with this buyer agency and say, oh, I'm only going to charge you 1%, and then try and get 2.5% later, not happening, or 3%. So what they're probably going to do is maybe have a higher commission on this buyer agency contract, and then if it's less, they'll take less. I'm sure it's going to happen, all right? So what I really think is going to happen is it's going to really hopefully weed out the bad players, right, in the real estate world. And this happens in the mortgage world all the time. People that can't follow the rules, that bait and switch and lie, they get weeded out because they don't know, they can't lie anymore. This has to be contract. You have to explain it. It has to be simple, all right? So this is only going to make the industry better, but it is a change. And it's going to be a lot different for a lot of different people, and change is hard, all right? But ultimately, I think this is the good agents have always been upfront in talking to their clients and their sellers and everything, that they're going to make it work. It's going to be better and could get rid of the bad players. It's going to weed it out and make the industry better in the long run. That's my opinion. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Remember, I'm not a real estate agent. All right. Just talking about what's going on. You can look over here. But if you have questions, let me know. And if you are a real estate agent, if I said something, if you have an opinion on this, please let me know. Please. Later.
Hussbus, bus stop.